Elite 11 finals in Los Angeles set to get underway.
The best of the best quarterbacks.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for these quarterbacks to come in.
It is the who's who of high school quarterbacks.
What do you want people to walk away from this event saying about you?
Some respect. Yeah, I want respect. I could be a ball player in the next level, and I could be one of the best in 2024 class.
Definitely looking forward to taking in all the knowledge that these coaches have and building the bond with all these other top quarterbacks in the country.
Elite one, elite one, elite one.
Hello and welcome to the College Football Recruiting Show. I'm Emily Proud. As you can see here, my co-host Blair Angulo is with Greg Biggins and Andrew Ivins at the Elite 11 Finals in LA. You'll hear from him and the other analysts in just a bit, but as always, nothing changes today. Make sure that you are subscribed to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel. I already see people in the chat. That's the only way you can submit questions to us. We'll have a special guest answering your questions at the end of the show. Also, like the video so we know that you're watching. So you go hit that like button, and I'm going to hit the headlines. Solo, USC's top 20 class continues to build with the latest commitment coming from 2024 four-star tight end Walter Matthews. The Trojans beat out Florida, Miami, South Carolina, and a host of others for the Georgia native. Matthews is, like Blair, at the Elite 11 Finals. He is participating as a skill position player and I assume getting accustomed to life in Southern California. It's back to the drawing board for Washington. Kalen DeBoer is now on the hunt for a quarterback this cycle. This after longtime commit E.J. Camignong backed off his pledge to the Huskies earlier this week. The three-star signal caller and Seattle native had been committed since last October, but recently visited Texas A&M prior to his decommitment. And a double crystal ball alert. Director of Recruiting Steve Wiltfong and National Recruiting Analyst Brian Doan both put in crystal balls for Clemson to land 2025 quarterback Blake Hebert after numerous wins in the 2024 class last week. Well, Dabo, he is looking ahead, and Hebert is the top player in Massachusetts and has offers from Auburn, Penn State, Notre Dame, among more. Clemson currently does not have a quarterback committed in this cycle in 2024. And day 2 of the Elite 11 Finals are currently ongoing. We'll take you out there in just a few seconds. But first, after yesterday's opening session, 24/7 Sports named 5-star quarterback Dylan Raiola the alpha dog. After him, you got Florida State commit Luke Kromenhoek, Alabama commit Julian Sayin, Ohio State commit Aaron Noland, and Michigan commit Jadyn Davis, rounding out our day 1 top 5. So that's the latest in the world of recruiting. So now it is time to send it out to Blair and friends at Redondo Union High School in California. Hey, Blair.
Hey, Emily. Thank you so much. I am joined by national recruiting analyst Greg Biggins and Andrew Ivins, the director of scouting at 24/7 Sports. And before we look ahead to tonight, which is a huge night at the Elite 11 Finals for the Pro Day session, let's look back at night number 1, guys. Andrew, Dylan Raiola, the alpha dog, the Georgia commit, the 5-star, the number 1 rated player in this 2024 class, continued to prove why he's so highly regarded.
He did. I mean, he looked like the real deal. I think he could have came out here and struggled a little bit. You know, he shows up. Everyone's talking about Dylan Raiola. They know that he has 5 stars next to his name. They know he's number 1 in the rankings. And I thought from an arm talent standpoint, it was there. I mean, he made all the throws, and he made it look relatively easy throughout the session. Like, he didn't struggle with anything. And I think what's most encouraging about Dylan Raiola's performance is when you put on the tape and see what he did as a sophomore and a junior, a lot of his big-time throws, he's on the move, right? He's kind of crafty in the pocket, moving around, escaping pressure, off schedule, off script. He did everything on script Wednesday night.
You know, you used the word easy, and I kept saying easy velocity. To me, he was effortless. When the ball comes out of his hand, kind of remind me of Josh Rosen when Josh just threw that deep ball. You know, it doesn't need a big crow hop, a hitch, whatever you want to call it. The ball just jumps out of his hand, and I knew he was motivated because I think, you know, he heard us talking in our roundtable. I don't think anybody picked him to be our MVP, right? And
well,
I think
we suggested that he was the odds-on favorite.
Odds-on favorite, but I don't know who I picked somebody else. I think I picked Julian. You might have picked CJ Carr, but I thought he was excellent. I hadn't seen him throw since the Poly Combine. but I love the way he moved. His body looks better. I think he's smart. Front of the line guy, took a lot of reps, looked good doing it. Great night for Dylan, I thought.
Yeah, the Elite of the Finals is a competition where we're trying to evaluate, right? And we see these quarterbacks make throw after throw. And I feel like with Dylan Raiola specifically, he maybe has the least amount of question marks to his game. He has that terrific arm talent, like you mentioned, the ability to make those off-platform throws. One quarterback, though, that did have some questions to answer, and he answered them rather resoundingly, Greg, was Luke Kromenhoek, the Florida State commit. He was number 2 on our top performers list.
Yeah, I mean, it was close between those two for me. My first time seeing Luke, and I'll tell you what, man, his ceiling is, I think, as high as anybody. And he kind of checks all the boxes in terms of multi-sport guy, hasn't been a quarterback his whole life. I actually kind of like that. He shows some high-level athleticism. Again, I said Dylan, the ball jumps out. With Luke, the ball jumped out. He had a top 5 arm for me. Again, easy pocket movement. Nothing looked rushed. The game looked kind of slow and easy for him. Highly competitive kid. Everything I wanted to see from Luke I saw last night.
Yeah, you mentioned he's not really a quarterback by trade. Talking to him yesterday, said he grew up in a defensive household. Dad was a defensive lineman. His brother was a linebacker, right? He played wide receiver early on in his career. Actually backed up another Elite 11 finalist, Holden Gerner, who was at this event 2 years ago. So he gets his first start. And you mentioned first time seeing him, right? Well, I saw him about 8 months ago on the road down in Miami. And just to see him then to now, he has progressed so much. And I think there's still a ton of meat left on the bone. Like, he can keep developing. Super high ceiling. I love the frame. You mentioned the arm velocity. He's up to 200 pounds, right? He's filling out. I think the Ryan Tannehill comp, remember, he's a former wide receiver. I think that works. And Mike Norvell and the Seminoles are getting an absolute steal. They were on him before anyone else, before he even started a game at the varsity level. So if you're a Seminoles fan, you got to be fired up about Luke Kromenhoek.
Just a quick piggyback. Sorry, Blair, talking to Brian Stump. He said he was the best guy they saw on the whole entire regional tour. So kind of coming in, I kind of thought he'd be a guy. But man, as advertised.
Yeah, Florida State obviously getting a steal there. Something we haven't really said about Alabama in quite some time. They have Julian Sayin, a 5-star quarterback here from Southern California in the composite, a player that I think we've always liked for a long time. And Andrew, you don't have the amount of exposure to him that maybe some people on this panel do. I know you have maybe what? Do you have the
He's the champion.
The Julian Sayin fan club card? What did you think of the Alabama Crimson Tide commit?
I thought he was Mr. Consistent, right? I was impressed. I love his lower body motion. Everything is in tune, right? From the legs, the drive, he gets it through the torso. He threw a beautiful football. And just having seen what Alabama's taken at the quarterback position the past few cycles, I get the most excited about Julian Sayin. I think he's a high floor prospect. I think that he can keep developing. But, I mean, Tommy Rees there at Notre Dame, I mean, Julian Sayin hits his spots. And with Rees coming over from Notre Dame, they're going to try to get those tight ends involved, and they're going to run the football. But I think Sayin is someone that can cook off of play action, right? And he's got a big arm. Last year, 10.93 yards per attempt. He can push the ball down the field. So excited to see what he looks like moving forward at this event.
So, Bama fans, go easy on me. I love the kid. I'm not a fanboy, but I am a fan. I didn't love him last night. I'll be honest. I've seen him the last 3 or 4 times, and I was like, told you and Coop, I was like, dude, he didn't rip it. Like, I've seen him rip the ball before. He was consistent. I thought he was safe. I thought he kind of just completed passes, but wasn't trying to really show off the arm that I'd kind of been bragging about, saying, dude, he's got improved arm strength. You're dying to jump in here. Go ahead.
Well, Greg, if that's his B game, I can't wait to see the end game.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway from last night. Then.
And I walked away, and I even saw his brother and his quarterback. I go, dude, Julian kind of let me down. Like, I was bragging about the kid, waiting for him to go out there and show why he's a number 1, 2, 3 guy. And it looked like he was not trying to overthrow, right? Because I've seen guys at this event that first night, man, they go out there and throw every ball 100 miles an hour, and then Thursday and Friday they're done. So I think Julian was maybe being a little bit safe. I can see him ripping the ball. The last 2 times I've seen him, he showed a lot more velocity with it. Saying all that, again, he completed passes. The feet were there. The accuracy was there. The release is all there. Like you said, man, a B game for him was still a top 5. I like it.
Well, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? I think a lot of guys came out yesterday, that first 20 minutes, they're trying to win the event.
Oh, yeah.
Got to throw a lot of passes tonight. Got to throw a lot of them on Friday. So, maybe that's a smart play by him.
Yeah.
And Julian Sayin playing at California Cool. He walked into the player hotel at check-in, really calm, really serene, from Carlsbad, a beach town. The other observation guys that I got to see at the check-in was Michigan commit Jadyn Davis walking in with Ohio State Air Nolan. I was taking photos. Full disclosure, I asked them to go to get their ball. Jadyn Davis, I think the ball was a little bit too far. He just grabbed it from Air Nolan and said, no, he's cool. We're buddies. What did you guys think of their performance as we continue to compare the future rivals?
Yeah, I mean, future Big Ten rivals. I mean, these guys threw alongside each other at the Elite 11 Regional in Atlanta earlier this spring. Our guy Cooper Patagna was there. He thought Air was much better than Jadyn Davis, and I think Jadyn Davis read that. I think he knew that coming into the event. I thought it was a solid performance for him, kind of back against the wall, right? He's in our 5-star ranking right now. We're trying to figure out how we're going to stack these quarterbacks. I think he knows, hey, I got to prove myself, and he pointed that out. And Julian also brought up the fact that this was a guy that was the MVP of the freshman All-American game. I remember seeing him at that event. We thought the developmental upside has a sophomore slump, but rebounds in a big way as a junior. Max Preps, North Carolina Player of the Year, throws 68 touchdown passes. So I liked him. I thought it was a great start for him. And then Air Nolan, he's sprouting up like a weed. Every time I see him, I'm like, man, he's grown an inch. He just looks the part. He's that lefty, quick release, can get it all around the field. I loved him when they had to hit that corner shot in the end zone. He hit 3 dimes in a row. I would not be surprised if at the end of the day he's in the top 3 for us, and I think he can push for MVP honors. You know, he has the on-field resume, and he's got it in between the ears. You talk to that kid, he's super impressive.
I'm watching the film right now of Air Nolan. Again, I mentioned Julian wasn't ripping it. Air was ripping the ball, right? And lefties, I don't know if it's golf or swinging a baseball bat. It just looks smooth and easy no matter what they're doing. And I was one of the guys I wanted to see the most was Air Nolan. Again, Brandon Marcello did a great job with that story. And for me, he was as advertised. And I don't know if they want to make it a rivalry. Jadyn kind of had fun with him when they checked in saying, hey, man, this is a rivalry. He goes, no, it's not a rivalry. But they did kind of mention, hey, Ohio State offered him after I committed. You got to throw that little zinger in there. But I like both. You know, with Jadyn, been watching him since he was a freshman, sophomore. And, you know, with me, I'm a big fan when it looks like quarterbacks. The first thing I notice is always the stroke, the release.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jadyn. He's got a little bit of a loop.
I think he's fighting it.
But the thing is, if you just forget that and just watch the ball come out, the rest of the play was great, right?
Yeah.
At the accuracy, the velocity was good. He threw a lot of really good balls. If you just don't look at that. Just
put the blinders out like it's we're a horse, right?
Yeah.
And we'll just look at
And when he rolls out, he doesn't have the loop, right?
Yeah.
He gets it out, little different arm ankles, and he rips it then. It's just on the straight drops, a little bit of a loop. I don't want that to get into his head and start to, overthink it a little bit. I thought he still had a top 10 night.
Well, I think he's one of the best at attacking that short to intermediate parts of the field, right? I think that's his game. He's a game manager. He's a guy that can win football games. Led his team to a state title there. Big season, playing with some good receivers. Had our #1 ranked recruit protecting his blind side in the class of 2025, David Sanders. So, again, encouraging performance, I think, for Jadyn Davis and a guy that was feeling the pressure.
We've talked about some known commodities heading to some big schools. Quickly, who was a big surprise for you, Greg, and then you, Andrew?
Ryan Puglisi. Am I saying his name right? Pugs? Pugs.
Oh, I called him Pugga, but he says it's Pugs.
I'm going with Pugs. For me, again, first time seeing him, I liked him. I thought he was a top 10 guy for me. A lot of pressure on him. He's got Dylan Raiola. Everyone knows he's the second guy. I don't think he sees himself as the second guy. I think he sees himself as a dude. And I thought he had a good night. I like the way he throws the outs and the skinny post. He was very accurate when I was watching him. Good night for Pugs.
Yeah, no, I thought he was good as well. I think he was a little up and down, but there's definitely some highs with Puglisi. And I think Thursday night's pro day is going to be big for him because he's a kid that has not played a ton of 7-on-7, and Friday's all 7-on-7. So I think that's someone we're going to be tracking closely tonight. For me, Blair, guy that I was fired up about, Haas Henne. Steve Wiltfong, our director of recruiting, is a big fan of him. Gabe Brooks, our guy in the Lone Star State as well. This is a dual threat talent. He's at his best when he is running the football, when he can do those RPOs. But, man, compact release, explosive thrower of the football. I thought he was awesome. He made it really far in that rail shot challenge. I think if you're a TCU fan, a supporter, someone in the football facilities there in Fort Worth, you got to be fired up about him. So Haas was one for me.
Yeah, this is a marathon, not a sprint. A lot to be decided still. We've got the Pro Day event later tonight here at the Elite 11 Finals. Thank you so much for Greg Biggins and for Andrew Ivins. Back to you, Emily.
Sounds like a lot of fun out there. Interesting to learn that Aaron Nolan is apparently still growing, as a reminder about how young some of these prospects are, but appreciate the preview there. A reminder as well to hit that like button if you have not already. Those guys are working long hours to give us unrivaled coverage here on the 24/7 Sports YouTube page, so make sure you show them your appreciation with that little thumbs up button. All right, yesterday was Arrival Day, and while players were checking in, our Josh Pate caught up with a few of the quarterbacks. Here are some of those conversations.
Elite 11 finals, Josh Pate alongside CJ Carr. Everyone's talking about the word competition out here, so I imagine you're looking forward to it too. So aside from the competition, what are you looking to get out of this event?
You know, there's some great, resources around the Elite 11, guys who've been through the, the recruiting process, been in college, been to the league. And so I think, my goal is to bring, 2 or 3 things home that, I've learned from this event and from these guys here and just work on that this off season and continue to just develop as a quarterback.
You've seen some of these guys in the camp circuit. I'm sure you've watched pretty much all of them, but what's the dynamic like when it's not a high school football game? It's sort of a controlled camp environment setting, but you're going up against the best of the best. It's a competition within the competition because there are only so many of those high-level QB1 spots out there. What is that level of competition like?
It's awesome, just to be in this situation and be recognized as one of the top kids in the country. I think I'm in a situation that not a lot of kids are in, and many kids dream to be in, and so I'm just excited to be here, be around some of the best kids in the country, and also see how you stack up against kids across the country.
How do you scout yourself? If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm looking at CJ Carr. What should I know about you?
I'm a competitor. I'm not going to back down from anyone here. I know there's a lot of hype around some kids from California, Texas, Florida, but I'm not going to back down from that. We're from the Midwest, so we're here to represent.
CJ Carr, appreciate it, brother.
Thank you so much.
Wouldn't be in Elite 11 finals without my man Jadyn Davis here. Arguably the strongest handshake at this competition. Strongest game. That's what we're here to find out.
Yes,
What's the mentality like coming into the Elite 11 finals?
Just excited to learn, get the group of knowledge from all these great coaches here, build a fraternity bond with the guys here, and ultimately compete. We wouldn't be out here if we weren't some of the best quarterbacks in the country, but looking to showcase my talents and, compete with everybody around here.
It's interesting because when you go into this event, you've got a bunch of guys who have played the quarterback position, but you've played it in football games.
Right, yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you start throwing them in a setting where you're just competing against other quarterbacks.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how is that different? It's competition, but it's not the same kind of competition you've ever been in.
It's definitely different being it's just on air. There's not a defense, you're not reading things, but at the end of the day, competition is competition, and we're going to go throw for throw, and whoever does the best is going to win. Just looking forward to building a bond with these guys. We all show each other support and love, and I respect all these guys' game, and just excited for the opportunity to compete.
How aware are you of the other guys you're competing against? How much of their games do you get a chance to watch?
Yeah, it's a good couple of guys that I'm friends with in this class. Not as many guys, I'd say, as years past, per se. Like, I was a lot of friends with 2023 and 22s. But, yeah, guys like Air and Julian Sayin and, me and Danny played in a freshman All-American game together, so it's kind of crazy to see it come full circle. But, yeah, man, I'm just so excited to be here and just build a relationship with these guys.
All right, so over the next couple of days, we get to the finish line. What do you want people to walk away from this event saying about you?
Some respect. Yeah, I want respect. Yeah, that's all I want. Yeah.
Not too different than what I want when I leave here. Appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Back here at the Elite 11 Finals, Ryan Puglisi situated just off to my left. Man, big competition in store. What are you looking forward to?
Super excited just to start off with, but definitely looking forward to taking in all the knowledge that these coaches have and building the bond with all these other top quarterbacks in the country.
I've asked this to a number of guys. It's always interesting to get the answers. So you're used to playing in actual football games.
Yeah.
And you're used to preparing for those and competing against the team across from you. Now it's weird because it's not a football game. There's not a team across from you. It's just a bunch of your peers around you.
Yeah.
So is there a different mentality? How do you go about approaching this?
I think rather than focusing on other people, you kind of compete with yourself for these type of events because, like you said, you're not playing against someone. You're kind of playing against yourself, trying to do your best in all the drills and all the accuracy challenges and stuff like that. So I think preparing yourself to control what yourself can control in these type of events is key to success.
Where's your game right now? What are the things that you're most focused on as you not only enter this, but you're about to be a college quarterback?
Yeah. Right now, I mean, I noticed that last season I have a pretty strong arm, so like sometimes I would overthrow kids on like a fade ball or a post, like something like that. So recently I've been working on my touch and trying to be able to use my arm strength to my best ability, but also be able to drop a ball in when I need to.
When we leave here a few days from now, what do you want people to be saying about you?
That I'm a complete quarterback, and it's not just that I'm going out there and playing the game, but I can do it at a high level, and I can use my brain as I'm playing the game as well.
Good luck, Ryan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So that is just a taste of some of those conversations. You can expect more exclusive content just like that over the next few days. So make sure that you are subscribed to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel so you don't miss a second of it. It's time now for the Wiltfong Whip Around with our Director of Recruiting, Steve Wiltfong, who is also out in LA. So let's start with where you are, Steve. Elite 11 finals. While most of the quarterbacks in attendance are committed, a lot of the guys we talked about in the previous segment, but there are two that are still mulling their college decision. You've got Elijah Brown and Trevor Jackson. So where do things stand with their respective recruitments?
Well, let's start with Elijah Brown, the number 3 quarterback in the 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings. He's down to 2 schools, Stanford and UCLA. And when he checked in yesterday, he told me he's closing in on a decision. I wouldn't be surprised if something happens next week. My colleague Greg Biggins and I, we like where Stanford stands. He took an official visit to see the Cardinal program the first weekend of June. Stanford has the number 10 ranked recruiting class in the country right now. Elijah Brown's their top target at the position. UCLA also got an official in May. Loves Chip Kelly, loves that offense, but I think Stanford has the momentum right now. And then Trevor Jackson, the rail shot winner from last night, had a fantastic finish to the first day of the Elite 11 finals. First workout, 3 schools, Pitt, Texas A&M, and Missouri standing out to him. Missouri got a quarterback commitment today from a talented kid, Aiden Glover. So I think that leaves you Pitt and Texas A&M right now. And I would say that Texas A&M has the momentum. He grew up a huge fan of Jimbo Fisher, called him his dream coach, visited Texas A&M this past weekend, got a chance to camp there, work with Coach Petrino, work with Coach Fisher. And I think it's the Aggies that have the momentum. But he did have a great official visit to Pitt the first weekend of June. Pitt is hot on the recruiting trail right now as they push for a top 10 class here in the summer. And I wouldn't sleep on the Panthers. And with the way that he's performing here in Los Angeles, we would not be surprised if more schools jump into the mix. Miami's a school that's recently elevated the dialogue.
And we've certainly seen that happen before post Elite 11, get some of that recruiting bump there. Ohio State commit Aaron Nolan is there. We talked about him, as well as his future teammate and 5-star wide receiver Jeremiah Smith. He is there, of course, catching passes. His recruitment has been making headlines as many schools continue to try to flip him. But you actually talked to Smith. So what did he tell you?
Yeah, I think that it's going to take a lot for another school to flip Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State. He said that they're going to have to prove that they can develop him into a first-round draft pick because he knows that Ohio State can develop him into a first-round draft pick. And on his official visit this past weekend, he got a chance to spend a lot of time with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Julian Fleming and talk about their situation at Ohio State, talk about the offense this coming year and the excitement around the program. And I think that Ohio State continues to set the bar in this recruitment. Florida is another program that he likes. Recently took an official visit there. Billy Napier told him that him and DJ Lagway can turn Gainesville back into what it used to be. I also think he believes he can be developed by Coach Billy Napier. Georgia's the 3rd team in the mix, and he's got upcoming trips to Florida State, Miami, and Penn State. But again, I think it's going to take a lot to flip the number 1 receiver from Ohio State.
Steve, I'm used to, you having both hands free for double thumbs up, but you've got one hand. Can you remind the people what they need to do? Hit that like button. There we go. I love it. Yes, make sure you smash that like button if you are enjoying our coverage of the Elite 11 finals. Let's continue with some of these questions, though. You also had a conversation with top 247 athlete JoJo Trader. He is the number 3 athlete in the country, currently being pursued by Florida, Florida State, Ohio State, Georgia, a lot of other schools. So what did he tell you about his recruiting process as it stands now?
Well, Miami's the 24/7 Sports crystal ball favorite for JoJo Trader, and he loves what Mario Cristobal and that staff are doing and the amount of communication he has with them and obviously proximity to home. but his best relationship is with Brian Hartline at Ohio State. And I think that Ohio State remains one of the major contenders for JoJo Trader as well. His recruitment is going to go the distance. He has not set up any official visits right now. He did visit Florida State this past weekend and raved about Coach Mike Norvell and his program. He also has interest in Florida and Georgia. But I think the Ohio State is the biggest challenger to Miami right now to ultimately land JoJo Trader. And this is a young man I think we're going to be talking about a lot in November and December, Emily.
All right, a little preview there. It's a good thing that LA is a very large city because it's also playing host to the overtime OT7 finals this weekend, and you had a chance to pop over there too. So in addition to watching some good football, we're also expecting a commitment from three-star athlete Amarian Stewart. That's happening tomorrow. Michigan leads in the crystal ball right now, but what can you tell us ahead of this decision?
Well, he took a couple official visits recently, Wisconsin and Michigan, and I think the Maize and Blue, who have the 24/7 Sports #2 ranked recruiting class, are the team to beat going into his decision. He's been to Ann Arbor several times, has really hit it off with Coach Ron Bellamy and that Michigan coaching staff, and feels very comfortable with that program and the success that they've had. But Luke Fickell and the Wisconsin staff, they were on him hard when they were at Cincinnati, and that carried over to Madison, and he got a chance to visit them a couple times. So Wisconsin has given him a lot to think about. But I like the Maize and Blue, the Michigan Wolverines, for Amarian Stewart.
All right. These events are, of course, fun, but it is still June, which means that the visit weekends keep on rolling. You've got a lot on your plate right now. We appreciate you updating us on all of it. So let's start in Norman for the Champ U Barbecue. Two of their top targets will be on campus, including five-star defensive lineman David Stone and the #1 running back in Taylor Tatum. So where do the Sooners stand with these two blue chippers?
Well, Oklahoma comes into the weekend, Emily, with the nation's number 44 ranked recruiting class. It was number 4 last year. And if they're going to make a run into the top 10 this year, the Champ U Barbecue is going to have a big impact on that. A lot of Oklahoma alum are going to return to Norman. There's going to be a lot of fast cars on the football field. It's just a lot of great energy in this event. David Stone, he's obviously from Oklahoma. The crystal ball favors the Sooners right now in this recruitment. He loves Coach Todd Bates. Loves Coach Brent Venables and the culture that they're instilling in Oklahoma. He says that they're quickly going to be a contender again under this new staff. But there are other contenders in the recruitment for David Stone. He was recently at Miami again. He's visited them several times. Oregon is a contender. Texas A&M is in the mix. The Florida Gators, he's had a few great visits to Florida this calendar year. So Oklahoma looking to continue to re-solidify themselves as one of the teams to beat with David Stone this weekend. And then Taylor Tatum, a lot of momentum around USC right now, a lot of momentum around the Trojans on the trail. As you know, Emily, Taylor Tatum, one of the guys that they're trending for. But Oklahoma is their main competition, in my opinion. DeMarco Murray's done a fantastic job recruiting him and his family. He likes Coach Jeff Lebby in the offense in Norman, and he's talked about Jackson Arnold being one of the best quarterbacks in college football for years to come. So a lot of enticing things about Oklahoma for Taylor Tatum coming into the weekend.
Looking forward to a recap of that weekend, hopefully including what food was served. Let's move on to fellow future SEC foe Texas, also set up for a big visit weekend. Two guys we're looking at there are 4-star wide receiver Aaron Hampton and a high 3-star running back Christian Clark out of Phoenix. So what is the latest in the Longhorns' pursuit of both Clark and Hampton?
Well, Texas has over 20 official visitors, so you're going to want to be locked into Horns 247 and 24/7 Sports for post-visit reaction. But these are two guys I'm very interested in regarding Texas coming into the weekend because of the Longhorns' positions for both. With Christian Clark, I think the Longhorns are the one to beat. And we've talked a lot on this show about Jarrett Gibson and Texas's position with the blue chip back out of IMG Academy, but they want to sign two, and these are their two favorite backs in the class. Christian Clark out of the state of Arizona, been to Austin in the past, great relationship with Tashard Choice, and spoke with a source close to him today. And I still like Texas's position. Now, Oregon is the other program I'm watching closely in that recruitment, with Florida State and Georgia rounding out what I believe to be the top 4. And then Aaron Hampton, a one-time Texas commit. He has the Longhorns in his final 2 alongside Alabama, was back at Alabama last weekend. Alabama's probably led the majority of the last 4 or 5 months for him. But talking to him recently, he said it's 50-50, and Texas working hard to get him back in the fold. He's one of the state's best two-way players over the last couple years. a dynamic guy with the ball in his hands. He'd be scary to watch in Steve Sarkisian's offense, and this is a big visit for Texas as they try and close out one of the state's best.
All right, a reminder that you can read more of Steve's work online at 247sports.com. We are currently running a promotion right now, a sale for annual membership, 60% off or $1 for your first month. And you better hop on it soon because this deal ends at midnight Eastern tonight. So go ahead and scan that QR code and you're going to get all the exclusive information. But you're about to get some great information here because our treat that I teased at the top of the show is that we have a special guest for our viewer questions. Steve is hanging on to answer some of those questions, and he's asking for likes. Yes, go ahead and do that, Steve. I pulled out my phone to do the percentage of people that have liked this video that are watching. 23% of you have hit that like button. So we need to get that up a little bit because we have a lot of people watching, a lot of people interested in what's happening out in LA at the Elite 11 finals. So along those lines, we've got some more questions here. Michael asking, any surprise to see the top names falling in the rail shot challenge? I got to hear more about this.
No, I think it's a pretty subjective deal on the judging out there, and it's just a fun way to end the camp. I don't think it. Dylan Raiola was our top-ranked performer of the evening at the Elite 11 finals for practice one, and he was one of the first ones out in the rail shot challenge. It did have an exciting finish, though, there with Haas Haney, Ethan Grunkemeyer, and Trevor Jackson matching each other throw for throw over the last 3 or 4 rounds. There was some electricity in the air there, and Trevor Jackson winning at the end there was fun to watch. But the rail shot challenge is just one of hundreds of throws that these young men made last night.
And hundreds more that they will be making today. Okay, Cole is asking, how has Daniel Kaelin been doing out there at Elite 11?
We gave him some love on the 24/7 Sports recap video that you can watch on this channel. Cooper Patagna highlighted Daniel Kaelin and his performance, and I thought that he showed a lot of potential. He's a guy that can really throw the football, has the arm talent. He's a super smart kid now, too, Emily. Perfect IQ score. Get him on the chalkboard. He's fantastic in that role. And he told me when he checked in, he's visited Nebraska at least once a week since he committed to the Huskers, sometimes multiple times. He got a chance to camp with Matt Rule and company recently, and he's continuing to get to know the coaching staff, recruiting hard for Nebraska. He's excited to be here, and he's certainly holding his own.
Yeah, really impressive pivot by Matt Rule and company after missing out on Raiola. Seems like he is all Nebraska. Visits every single week. That's impressive. Okay, Hannah asking, Steve, how are you feeling about Elijah Rushing and Gatlin Bear at Oregon this weekend?
My friend Hannah Glenn asking about 2 of Oregon's top targets as the Ducks try and maintain a top 10 recruiting class. Elijah Rushing fresh off an official visit to Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is one of the schools near the top of his list, but I love where Oregon stands coming into this visit. He was there back in the spring, loves what Coach Lanning and his pedigree, what he brings to this program, all the championship level coaches on the defensive side of the ball, defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoy. Oregon's doing a fantastic job here. I think they're one of the teams to beat coming into this official visit. And I would imagine coming out the other side, there's going to be a lot of positive buzz for Elijah Rushing. Gatlin Bear, fresh off a visit to TCU. Michigan's in there, but Oregon with their track program, this is the fastest kid in the country. I assume that it's going to be an exciting visit for him as he gets up to Eugene, track capital USA, a football program on the rise, trying to reinvent their receiver room. This is a guy that Oregon is in the middle of it for.
Definitely a 2-for-1 deal there with the historic track program there at Oregon. Our next question comes from Andrew M. Steve, do you see both Bryce West and Aaron Scott ending up at Ohio State?
Well, right now, my 24/7 Sports crystal ball favors Ohio State for both of them. Bryce West is actually out here at the Elite 11 finals. Spoke to him yesterday, and he said it could go either way for him. He just had a great official visit to Michigan, where he loves the way the coaching staff handles the team on the field and in the locker room, the way the players communicate with the coaches and the coaches communicate with the players. Certainly he likes the on-field results. He's been to Ann Arbor a bunch of times and has really clicked with the recruits. But Ohio State, his relationship with the Coach Walton and just the Glenville pipeline they've had there. Now, Michigan certainly had some success with Glenville too, but Ohio State is a program that he grew up pulling for, has a great relationship with. So I would probably still give the edge to Ohio State till someone tells me differently. Aaron Scott's at Michigan this weekend. Major official visit. He's one of their top remaining targets, number 2 class in America. And we've said it on the show countless times. Do not sleep on Michigan. There are people around Aaron Scott that believe that Michigan is the team to beat coming into this visit. And talking to Aaron Scott over the last couple weeks, he's coming into this visit to see if this is the place for him. Like, does he feel it in his gut that he should go to Michigan? Coach Klink and that coaching staff have done a fantastic job recruiting him. They've done a fantastic job recruiting Ohio. And I could very much see Aaron Scott at Michigan just as much as I could see him at Ohio State right now.
And with all the intel you have to gather, now you have to sense where somebody's gut is on a commitment. So we'll see what happens there. I told you that our YouTube page is going to be very busy over the next couple of days. We also have a live commitment tonight from 4-star tight end Elijah Lofton. You want to tune in to see that. It's at 9 o'clock Eastern. Steve, thank you so much for all the great intel. I'm sure I'll be seeing you on this YouTube page all throughout the weekend as you are at Elite 11. Although we are saying goodbye on the show, the finals continue out in LA and our coverage also continues. So be sure, once again, that you are subscribed to the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel so you don't miss any more live content from the Elite 11 finals continuing tonight and tomorrow. Thanks for watching. This is the College Football Recruiting Show.